This is one task we have taken, a Bhagavad Gita study, and it's important that we finish the discussion of the chapter after everyone learns, at least goes through the chapter once. Because what Narasimhamurti ji told just now has much to do with this chapter. That's why it is very timely that what he spoke about people living selflessly for the sake of others, Loka Sangraha, with the only goal to do good to the world. They have no personal ambitions, ideas, desires of their own. That is the essence of Karma Yoga. We started in Bhagavad Gita, where a confused and despondent Arjuna, totally attached to his own ideas, asks Krishna to turn the chariot around and let's escape from the duty. But Sri Krishna, being a very good teacher, very strict teacher, ensured that Arjuna does not run away from the battlefield. Rather, he learns in that classroom of a battlefield as it was designed by Sri Krishna to teach some of the greatest truths, not only to Arjuna, but through Arjuna to the entire mankind. And we learned how Sri Krishna analytically, carefully, step by step, teaches Arjuna that there is no point in you crying like this. And he teaches him that more than this body and mind, we are the Atman. The truth of ours is that we are Atman, which is indestructible. And this body simply undergoes changes. Dehinosmin yatha dehe, kaumaram yauvanam jara, tatha dehantara prapti. So once we die, we again attain another body. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya. And he explains the truth of Atman to Arjuna. But it does not go into Arjuna's mind very quickly. So he says, don't worry, Ascharyavat Paschati Kashchajenam. A lot of people look at it with wonder, try to understand, but they don't understand. So you are not new. It is a concept which is very difficult to understand. So even if you don't understand that, let us go to the next step, which is to do your duty. You are a Kshatriya, you are born to do your duty, which is not just to protect yourself, but protect Dharma at large. Just because it is not your problem, it doesn't mean that you won't act. As Kshatriya, as the king, it is your duty to protect the interest of all the subjects, irrespective of whether it directly affects you or not as an individual. And then he says that if you fight, then you will attain, and if you die in the fight, you will attain Swarga. If you win, anyway, you will enjoy the entire earth. Bhokshase Mahin. So why do you worry? Either ways, you make a decision and fight. He coaxes Arjuna. Then he goes on to tell, till here it was a Sankhya Yoga. He teaches him that this is important for him to act, because if he does not act for whatever reason Krishna is telling, people will laugh at him. And for ages, his enemies will make mockery of him. So it's better to die than to live with a bad name. So fight. Then he tells him how to fight the battle also. Now that you know, you will fight for one reason or the other. It could be because you are Atman, everybody is Atman and nothing is destroyed. Nobody destroys anyone. So don't worry, we were there yesterday, we are here today, we will be there tomorrow as well, because we are Atman. If not that, at least for your duty's sake you do, because if you don't do, people will laugh at you. And that is worser. So let us fight. But then he is also concerned how this Arjuna would fight. Will he now become very angry and remember all the bad that was done by the Kauravas and become aggressive, and with anger and hatred would he fight? Or is there another way to fight this battle? And then he teaches him that, see, while you fight this battle, you must fight with the idea that you are doing just your duty, discharging your duty. Samad sukha dukkha samekritva. Don't be influenced by the outcome of this battle. You do what you have got to do, that is your dharma. And how should you do it? He says, do it well. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Don't worry about the outcome. Do it well. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Do it perfectly to the best of your abilities. And don't worry about anything else. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Do it with equanimity, where you are not affected by whatever happens out of it. So he teaches him the attitude behind how he should act. He calls it as buddhi yoga, and teaches him to discriminate and perform his action without the attachment to the outcome. And then he teaches there are people who do like this, prajna pratishtita. There are people who are established in the highest knowledge. As Arjuna gets confused, how is it possible to act without desiring for results? And even if results come, should not be affected by what kind of results come. Sounds totally insane. Who works in the world without expecting any outcome? good or bad. And how can somebody remain steady even in an adverse outcome also? So Arjuna is confused. He has never met somebody. He asks Krishna, and Krishna explains what happens. Sita Prajna, what kind of people are they? How they behave. They have become desireless for themselves. They do it for the sake of others. And he teaches them how they control their senses, how their mind is within their control, how they use their buddhi to discriminate and act for the sake of doing their duty. They are not affected by anything, praise or blame. So this is how the chapter goes on. And now Arjuna is again in confusion. See, Arjuna is an eternal jignasu and a person who asks questions. And our scriptures have so wonderfully designed all the teachings in a question and answer methodology. Kathopanishad is like that. Bhagavad Gita is like that. Prashnopanishad is like that. In many places, even Mundakopanishad begins like that. So it is a methodology that our ancient teachers have adopted. Now what you call FAQ, frequently asked questions kinds. So Arjuna is asking all possible questions that can come to any sadhaka anywhere in the world. Even today, after 5,000 years, people may get questions, and Arjuna is finding answers to all those questions. So Arjuna is just representing us. How he is representing us? Because he has to perform his duty like all of us. We are teachers, we are doctors, we are engineers, we are students, we are devotees, we have a duty to perform. And in this loka, this world in which we live, there are many worlds as you know by now, but in this world, this is karma bhumi. Action is the most important thing in this world. And everybody has to perform action. Nobody can say, I have nothing to do here. I don't want to perform action. It is not possible. Ashtavakra said, even closing and opening an eye is an action. So forget about saying, I don't want to perform. Everything is action here. Whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it, you'll end up doing actions. So, what is the consequence of actions? Results. And what is that consequence of that? If you're attached to the results, then you are born again. And our concept of two things are there which are fundamental to Sanatana Dharma. One is karma and is karma prabhavas, which leads to punarjanma. So these two ideas are only existing in Sanatana Dharma. And now in the present modern times, as we say Hinduism, these two concepts are available here. One is that we have to perform actions, and there are consequences to actions which will either bind or liberate us, depends on the attitude with which we perform. But nobody can escape action in this world. Even the one who is simply sitting quietly, opening and closing eyes also is action, for which he will be bound, unless the attitude is right. Second thing, how to get rid of this punarjanma, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam chakra. Your actions have to be performed correctly. The key lies there to liberation. Key is not later. Key is in the action that we perform and the attitude with which we perform. That is why Karma Yoga is so important. See, if we all want to lead a peaceful life, happy life, free life, where we are not bound by the consequences like a slave to our karmas and karmas consequences, dragged from womb to womb, as Yama says, mrityo samrityo vapnoti, ya ihanana eva pashyati. The one who does not understand this truth goes from death to death. He doesn't even say birth to birth, because he thinks that birth is a useless birth where you did not attain the highest wisdom. It is a wasted birth, so it's as good as death. So that is how Yama puts it. Death to death they come who do not understand this concept. So listen to this concept very carefully. Karma Yoga is the key for one to liberate oneself. And why it is important in this loka? Because nobody can escape karma. Everybody has to perform action. But what kind of action should we perform, and how should we perform that action, with what attitude, is Karma Yoga. Karma is everywhere. Karma Yoga is only for few who understand this concept. So I will not go through all the shlokas, but some very important shlokas. Let's begin with Arjuna's confusion. After having heard the whole second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, and a part of Buddhi Yoga, and having also learned that there are people who can lead lives like this, completely detached, unaffected, equanimous, which is a foreign concept to Arjuna as of now. He asks this question to Krishna. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tvakim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. He says, just now you explained there is a wisdom behind everything. Those who are wise ones, they are not having any desires to do anything. They are free from all desires. And therefore, that is better, seems like that buddhi, that jnana is better than performing actions. Because once you perform action, you have to worry about results and consequences and things like that. So I rather be somebody who does not want to perform action, but rather be established in the prajna. How that is possible? Not possible. But Arjuna thinks that there is a way out, that I can directly become a jnani and I don't have to fight this battle. So he's going back to the same point that he doesn't want to fight the battle. So he says, when you say that jnana, that wisdom, that wise prajna is better than performing these kind of actions, then why are you pushing me into such a terrible war? I don't understand what you're saying. I know that you mean well, but somehow I don't understand. So he says, so I am confused. Buddhi mohya siva me. I am again confused. Which way to do? Should I become a jnani and become a sita prajna, or should I perform action? Please clarify, he says. Tadekam vada nischitya yena shreyo hamapnuyam. What will give me better results? What is good for me? Please advise me. Please guide me, he says. Is this not a dilemma for many of us, choosing to perform or not perform? Many of the people come and tell me, Swami, you are putting us to do these things. Again, we will get bound by our actions. Please allow us to meditate whole day. But I know what happens after 20 minutes of meditation. From vertical, they become horizontal. And that becomes karma. Nidra is a karma, by the way. So they'll perform karma irrespective of what they try to do. So I am saying, instead of going flat on your bed, get up and walk around and do some work. This is what I am trying to tell those people who claim that they would rather meditate in their rooms, but not come to work in the offices or in the field or anywhere that I give them work. They say, no, this is all karma. I don't want to be bound by karma, you see. I'm here to attain jnana and sit in my room and meditate whole day. This chapter is especially directed straight towards such people who have such ideas about escaping action. So our Krishna says, he's very compassionate. See, Sri Krishna's teaching, I always appreciate the way he puts his concepts. He did not say, Arjuna, oh fool, what have you not understood? I have explained so much. But he simply starts, see Arjuna, your doubt is quite genuine. Loke asmin dvividha, two kinds of people are there in this world. Nishtha pura prokta mayanagha, what I have told you about just in the last chapter, there are two kinds of people. What kind of people? Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. Jnana yoga, some people love to contemplate, meditate on the higher truths, and they are like that. That's why we find people withdraw from the society, go to the forest or in the Himalayas or somewhere. They are one kind of people. They have their interests like that. The other kind of people are those who are interested in action. They'll do something or the other. If they don't do good things, they will end up doing bad things. So they have to be busy. So there are two kinds of people and two kinds of paths. So Sankhya Yoga, Atma exists, is an illusion, is one category of people who think like that. The other category, they have to perform actions. But what kind of action? That I have taught you as Karma Yoga. So I will elaborate now on that. That is what he's saying. But he does not straightaway kind of ridicule Arjuna. But he rather explains that what you are saying is right. There are two kinds of people though, and they have different kinds of aptitudes. So accordingly, karma is, or the jnana is taken for them. So he says that, I'll skip a few and say, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtyat akarmakrit. Nobody in this world, not even for a moment, can stay without performing action. Can you believe that? You will say, I'm doing nothing, I'm just sitting in my room. That is an action. How is that an action is the question that you have to sit and analyze. And he says, Karyate hi avashah karma sarva prakritir jair gunaihe. All have a nature of their own prakriti, guna. These gunas direct their action. So the one who is sleeping and apparently doing nothing is actually performing action out of tamas, tamo guna. His lethargy, his laziness, his inertia is driving him to simply lie in a place, seemingly not doing anything. But actually is performing a karma born out of his guna of laziness. Similarly, somebody who is super active, working everywhere, doesn't want to come for satsang, doesn't want to sit a minute for meditation. Give him any amount of work he is willing to do, but can't sit in a place and meditate or contemplate. He is also performing action. He may say, I'm performing for the sake of welfare of the world, but he is performing action out of rajoguna, which drives people to performance of actions. And somebody who does not do both and is sitting in a quiet corner and meditating on something, he is also performing action out of sattva guna. Everybody is acting, whether you dislike or you don't like, whether you want or you don't want, whether you know or you don't know. Everything is action in this world. And Ashtavakra puts it so beautifully. Those who have ego identity within themselves, I am so and so. Such a person performs action even when he does not perform an action. Only the person who has no ego, no identification with the body and the mind, such a person, even while he is performing the action, is not performing any action. For him, there is nothing called action and reaction. But anybody who still identifies oneself with the body and the mind and has not yet realized the higher truth, for him, everything is action. Even sitting quietly is an action. Even lying down and sleeping is also an action. Breathing is an action, walking, talking, anything is an action, not necessarily something that he does in the office. Everything is an action for such a person. So the same concept Krishna is saying, nobody in this world can sit for a moment without performing action. So that crucial is to know now how to perform the action so that we don't get bound by it. Can we escape action? Answer is a straight no. So how do we perform action so that we don't get caught? This is how you perform, he is explaining. He says we are all born with certain gunas. In old times, in our children, when we were young, small babies, they put a few things in front of them. Do you know that method? They put a little pen or pencil and put some money, gold coins, put some items of play and things like that. And Guru will come, and generally it happens during the Namakarana ceremony, and tell you go and pick up. The child is naturally attracted towards certain things. Somebody picks up the pen and the paper, somebody picks up gold coins, somebody picks up, some things to play. Based on that, we kind of conclude what kind of gunas are there in this child. And based on that, we understand what the child is going to be in the life. Because we know we are coming from many births are there. We have been there in the past. And therefore, we bring all those ideas, aptitudes with us, which may not be fully expressive. But if you really want to know what a child is capable of, what a child is keen about, watch the child before the child becomes 5-6 years old. Whatever the child is naturally attracted to, that is his true nature. He may live an artificial life from 6th year onwards once he is taught how to behave, not to behave, what to do, what not to do. And he may continue behaving like that till his 90th year. But 91st year, he will be back to the same old habits. He will become the child again who has his own things to do and won't listen to anybody. Most of the people complain about the old people like that. They don't listen. Because they become their natural, true selves, driven purely by their gunas. Much of our life is spent artificially under the influence of others. Very few break away from that, forced conformity and do their own things. Somebody like Abdul Kalam breaks away from selling newspaper and refuses to be a cleric or whatever and goes on to become a scientist because that's what drives him. His guna is that. He's inquisitive. He wants to know how to fly a plane or how to send a rocket. So also Rabindranath Tagore, who tells his father, I can't go to these schools anymore. Please leave me alone. Give me a nice natural place and whatever I can learn, I will learn. And he never has a formal education but goes on to earn a Nobel Prize for his poetry. So also there are others. So they are driven by true gunas which they are born with. That's why I say find the purpose of your birth. Find the purpose. And how do we find the purpose? Anything that you can do every day of your life and never get bored other than eating, sleeping and playing. Please cut that off. Playing, of course, in another way, but ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna. These are common animal instincts. If you say, these I love to do, I can do every day and never get bored, then that is not what I am talking about. I'm talking about apart from ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna, anything that you can do and do every day and never get bored, never get tired of it. You know that you are born to do that. Anything that makes you feel like an effort while doing, you know that is not what you're naturally inclined to do. So your guna will not allow you. Then you will say, oh, I'm born with tamoguna, what can I do about it? I sleep all the time. Don't question me, don't scold me. People may say like that. So for that also he comes and says, that Krishna says, there are people who are like that, who are confused about the truth and things like that, and they might say things like that as you said, that we don't want to do or we are born like that, what can I do about it? I'm lazy, I'm born lazy. This is how I am, this is my guna karma. And I will continue to be like that. So for that also he tells, and he goes on to say after some time that those people who are born like that, you should not go and disturb them in their thinking. Because they are ajnanis. If you go and tell them anything of this great knowledge, they will misunderstand it and make it worse for you. So he'll come there somewhere at some point in time. So he tells that those are born with that kind of nature, straight away don't go and disturb their work style. So many people, they do certain things, others come and tell me, why don't you advise him a little bit? Well, let him do like this. Then I tell, I'll advise him at the right time. They are not ready to listen to me because they are too influenced by their karmas or gunas. So don't you do and disturb them.